there's a difference in trying to be right and trying to get it right.
Yeah.
A lot of folks try to be right. They want to be the one that, man, that was my idea. Yeah, I'm the one that, instead of trying to get it right? Yeah. And if we can all get on the same page as to what are we trying to do, how are we going to do it, and why are we doing this, and focus on solving the root problem at the core, trying to get it right, that's how we're going to be successful.
Welcome to the Know Your Ship podcast, presented by eHub. I'm your host, Frank Dolce.
Jey Yokeley. Man, it's so nice to have you here on the Know Your Ship podcast. And by the way, thanks for your suite.
Yeah, man.
The opportunity
we
to
make it
record
work. Yeah.
in your room. That's awesome. First question. Those are some nice boots.
Thank you, man. Tecovas.
Tecovas are the best.
Big Tecovas guy.
I didn't know they made. Is this like an ostrich?
It is ostrich, yeah. This is my first pair. I got this pair probably 4 or 5 years ago. And the collection has grown since. So
of
big Tecovas, yeah.
I only have one pair, and I keep threatening to buy another. I have the suede. I'm going to suggest that.
I got the suede. What color suede do you have?
It's like the tan.
Honey? The honey?
Is that what it's called?
So there's
suede?
a honey suede.
I should have the honey suede.
Yeah. There's a tan suede. There's like an off gray suede. They got unique names for all their boots.
I know.
Yeah. I've got all the suedes. So yeah.
Have you ever been in one of the stores?
Oh yeah, there's one in Charlotte. It's an experience. I go there frequently, get my boots shined, get a beer, sit there, hang out.
I know. That's the nice thing about that store is they make it a whole experience.
They do. That's kind of their thing, man.
I think the closest one to wait, do they have one in California? I don't know. I'm in Salt Lake. I think the closest one is in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
Would that be the closest?
Well, they found it and are headquartered in Austin.
Yeah. Oh, maybe Austin.
So, but yeah, we got one in Charlotte, man. It's my go-to. It's the only place I buy boots now.
You're in Charlotte. Is that where you live?
Born and raised.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, right, man.
That's a perfect segue. Yeah. I was going to ask you where you grew up.
Born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina.
So did you want to be a Dookie, or did you want to be a Tar Heel?
So I grew up, one of my grandfathers went to Chapel Hill, UNC. So I grew up a Carolina basketball fan. My other grandfather went to Clemson, played football at Clemson, which is where my football passion came from. So I grew up a Tiger football fan and a Tar Heel basketball fan. Not very fond of Duke, not very fond of NC State. Really? Respect them both, but don't pull for them.
The rivalries. I grew up in L.A.
Okay.
I grew up a UCLA basketball fan and a USC football fan.
Really?
So I know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My childhood best friend just got hired as the offensive coordinator at UCLA.
Who's that?
Tino Sinceri.
You're kidding. That's your childhood best friend?
Yep.
Did you ever want to, you have a great football career. You have a great football story. Did you ever want to, was that your path? Did you want to be involved in football? Coaching, playing?
Yeah, I thought that's where I was inevitably going to end up for sure. Coaching was where I thought my calling was. I'm sure we'll get into that. I had a bad injury in college and missed an entire season. And during that season, I actually spent that in the box with the headset as an extension of the coaching staff. It was where I really got my feet wet. And our head coach at the time, legendary Hall of Fame coach Jerry Moore at Appalachian State.
Absolutely.
One of the greatest men I've ever had the privilege of knowing. He asked me, he persuaded me or tried to, instead of trying to come back and play my senior year, because he cared about my health, if I wanted to go ahead and join the staff as a quality control coach and get my career started there. But I just felt that I couldn't go out like that. I had a little bit more left to give. So I came back and played instead. And for whatever reason, man, I decided not to go the coaching route. NIL is already in some states legal for high school.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right, wrong, or indifferent. I think they've got to build some structure around this whole process, which they are, kind of putting in almost like a salary cap type where they're going to limit what teams can do. But I think that high school is going to go that route. I do. However, the only thing with high school is they still have zoning, right? There's population restraints of how many kids can go to a school.
Yeah.
But private schools, look, here's the fact is high schools have been recruiting since the beginning of time, man. I was recruited to multiple schools in high school. Like, there's options and there's ways that schools can make it work. But I do think eventually all of football is going to follow a similar trajectory where there's going to be money involved.
It's crazy. I don't know what the future looks like in that game. And
I don't think anybody does.
Quarterback, you're going to be coaching the state championship team. Your star quarterback's going to be making more than you. He's going to be taking you out to dinner.
Potentially. Hey, but if we're winning titles,
you're okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, Title Town. All right. Well, that's a great goal. Okay, so you started out in North Carolina. You had an athletic family, obviously. Was that you growing up? I mean, you were just involved in all the sports and encouraged by your family to do that?
Yeah. So my grandfather played football at Clemson.
Yeah.
He was a fullback and defensive end back in the 50s. And my father played football growing up. He was a quarterback growing up. So naturally, it was, wanted to follow and be like my role model growing up. My parents didn't pressure me to play sports, but what they did, when I look back on it, was very strategic. They didn't allow me to stay inside. I didn't have video game consoles. I was never a video game guy. If I was inside too long, it was, hey, get out of the house. So I was an outdoors kid. I was riding my bike around, getting into trouble, playing neighborhood football pickup games. We had a big field in my neighborhood growing up where, 20 kids would get out there and we'd full tackle, you know what I mean? It was full go.
Yeah.
So I played,
Kill the carrier.
Yeah, man. So I grew up playing, football, basketball, baseball, like most kids do, just staying active throughout the year, playing different sports.
When did you figure out that you were pretty good? Like you thought you might be able to continue doing that?
About 8th grade. 8th grade, my family, I grew up in the south side of Charlotte. And we moved further south when I was going into the 8th grade and went to a school called Weddington Middle School. And that's actually where I met my childhood best friend, Tino Sinceri, whose dad was the defensive line coach for the Panthers at the time. And this is when the Panthers had, Julius Peppers, Mike Rucker, Chris Jenkins, Brinson Buckner. This is the Super Bowl era when we went and, lost to Tom Brady and the Patriots. And Tino, who went on to be a very successful college quarterback at Pittsburgh. He's top 3 in yardage all time, played in Canada. He had a great arm on him. And when I moved out to Weddington, got out there that summer, got in with tryouts for the football team. That's when I kind of knew, because that was when things started to really click. I kind of was growing into my body at that time. I was clumsy. I was tall, always been tall, but I was, if I stood behind a light pole, you couldn't see me, But that's when it really started to kind of come together, and I started to realize that I had the ability. I just needed to keep working on it, and the coaches started to pull me inside and said, hey, like, you got what it takes. And, as a 8th grader, you don't know what that means, right? So even when I went into high school, I played football, basketball, baseball my freshman year. Sophomore year, I played football, and I ran track in the spring. So I realized I wasn't going to, I'm 6'3", basketball wasn't going to be my future. I was a role player at best, but I loved playing basketball. Baseball was honestly my best sport. It was just too slow for me. Not enough action going on. And I realized that at that point, football could likely be my path to college and maybe beyond that. So I ran track really just for the only purpose of working on speed, just trying to get faster for football. And then by my junior year, I focused just on football because I started to get recruited, started to go to camps, started to get some offers, and I realized, okay, if I really focus on this, then this is really kind of what my path could be.
Did it feel like work to you to do that? I mean, did you have to kind of talk yourself into getting out of bed and doing workouts and going to practice, or was it natural? Did you just figure like...
No, I never felt like work, man. I mean, first off, naturally, when I think you are good at something, right, humbly, right, certainly there was guys that were better than me out there. I wasn't a national top-ranked recruit. But you kind of gravitate towards what you find yourself excelling at.
Sure.
And I loved football. I just had a passion for football. I mean, growing up, I was glued to the TV all day Saturday, all day Sunday, right? And so I had a real deep love and interest in the game. I grew up going to Clemson games every year. My grandfather, huge alumni and contributor. So I was just kind of bred into it, man. And all my idols growing up were football players, playing quarterback. Brett Favre was my favorite gunslinger back in the day. So no, it never felt like work because it just felt like I was working on a craft that my identity was a little bit wrapped up in it.
Here's the era difference. You were a Brett Favre guy, probably like a Troy Aikman era kind of guy. I was like Roger Staubach, Kenny Stabler,
Terry Bradshaw?
Terry Bradshaw.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
Is that before, or is that after Frank Tarkenton's time?
No, Fran Tarkenton was right around the same time.
Yeah.
Fran Tarkenton was the original scrambling quarterback.
Good
group. He was way before his time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good group.
Not a bad group. Joe Montana.
Man. Yeah.
Joe Montana.
He's pretty good, yeah.
He wasn't bad.
Yeah, he was okay.
Okay, GOAT. Who's the GOAT?
Quarterback? It's Tom Brady.
No, it's not. It's Joe Montana.
It's Tom Brady.
If you had to score one touchdown at the end of a football game, and they said you can have Tom Brady or Joe Montana, I'm taking Joe Montana.
Why?
Because he just had the ability to make that drive at the end of the game, and he was so. They called him Joe Cool.
You saying Tom didn't?
I'm not saying he didn't.
7-3 in Super Bowls.
I'm saying that 4-0 in Super Bowls.
But
4-0, and
but
never threw an interception in a Super Bowl game.
yeah, well, look. Those are impressive stats. I get it. However, we're arguing something that probably can't be settled.
Yeah,
it's like the Jordan LeBron argument.
Agree.
We got different generations, different time. I'm a Jordan guy all the way. Yeah, all the way. All
right.
But I think Tom Brady, and here's my kind of stance that separates him from the rest. There's players, being in Carolina, Charlotte, Bryce Young at the Panthers, right?
Yeah.
Bryce Young in high school with a modern-day high school, #1 national recruit at his position and overall player. Plays at one of the nationally ranked best high schools in the country, surrounded by nothing but 4 or 5-star talent. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And he put numbers off the charts.
Yes.
Goes to Alabama, surrounded by 4 or 5-star talent.
I couldn't agree more.
Puts numbers off the chart, wins national championship. Goes to Carolina Panthers, and he got benched after a first year. People question his ability to even play in the league. Now, I think with the right talent around him, he can be a very good NFL quarterback. But there's a difference in really good players that perform at a high level when they're surrounded by talent versus really good players that bring out the talent that they're surrounded by. And I think that's where Tom Brady, and it's not that Joe Montana did it, but I think Joe didn't have the opportunity. Tom went to Tampa.
Yeah.
Took a team that was mediocre at best and immediately turned them around and goes and beats them in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs.
I'll give you that. If I look across those careers and you look at the talent, like there's Hall of Fame talent all around Joe Montana. I mean, at the receivers, tight end, running backs. I mean, he was surrounded.
He was.
And a great defense as well.
Yep.
There's no question about it. I think that you could make the argument that Tom Brady did more with less around him. Although he did maybe have the greatest tight end of all time around him. He never really had a great running game. He never really had like 2 guys on the outside that he could really rely on.
1 year he had Randy Moss, and they broke every record.
Was that amazing?
But look at the rest of his. He had Edelman.
That's true.
Amendola.
No.
Wes Welker.
He made all those guys. I mean,
and he made Gronk.
And he made all
What's Gronk without Tom Brady? Gronk never played without Tom Brady. He even followed him to Tampa Bay.
He's just another failure from Arizona Wildcats. That's all he is. Well, I'm glad you talked about all of that stuff because I think as we start transitioning in this interview, I want you to think about the importance of a team, the team that you build around you, and how critical that is to your success where you are currently. But I'm not leaving football yet because it's a really interesting story. You find yourself. Oh, by the way, are you a Dabo guy or not a Dabo guy?
I'm a Dabo guy.
Are you kind of a Dabo guy or are you all in on Dabo? I'm not a Dabo guy. Like, I appreciate what he's done and what he's built there. But for some reason, whenever he starts talking, I am like tuning out.
A little over the top.
A little bit.
I'll tell you why I'm a Dabo guy. I'm a Dabo guy because he proved that he could do it his way and win championships. And not just win championships, but he knocked Saban and Bama off the throne.
Yeah, he sure did.
The reason why I hesitate a little bit is because I think everybody has to accept that change is inevitable. And if you're not willing to adapt to change, then you will not survive, right? You know, the old Charles Darwin quote, it's not the strongest nor the most intelligent that survives, it's the one most adaptable to change. The landscape, like we talked about, is changing in college football, it's changing in high school football. he's been more closed-minded than I think he should be to adapting to the change of the transfer portal and NIL, and he wants to keep his culture. And I think he has to understand that if he doesn't pivot, then there will come a time where he will get left behind because, sometimes you can't do things the way you want to. You have to do things the way you need to.
That's another great point that you bring up. And we're in an industry where you have to be adaptable.
Absolutely.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that as well. Okay, you find yourself at, now I'm going to say this incorrectly, so you would correct me, Appalachian State.
You said it right, Appalachian State.
I was practicing, and I almost messed it up.
I thought you were going to say Appalachian State.
It's like Appalachian State.
Yep.
Which is a great historic. I mean, that program has a lot of history.
Yeah.
You find yourself on campus there. You go there as a quarterback. 2008. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're kind of fighting your way through. Well, in your junior year, you have a setback. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, sure can, man. So I'll kind of start from here. Most people, when they say, "Hey, where'd you play?" Appalachian State. What do you think the first question I always get is? Were you on the team that beat Michigan?
Yeah, I was gonna say, were you?
It's like, well, no. That was my senior year of high school, but that was a big recruiting tool. You know? I mean, look, I grew up in Charlotte.
That was a great win.
Just Boone, North Carolina, where App is just over 2 hours from Charlotte. But I'll tell you, I'm the last person that wanted to go to school in the mountains in the cold. I mean, I like cold weather temporarily. I like to be able to leave it when I want to, right? And App, everybody knew about App, but it was not even on the top of my list, right? But obviously things change when you go out there and beat a top 5 opponent. And look, that was the demise.
On their field.
Lloyd Carr's career is over at that point. I mean, that team was stacked too. Chad Henne, Mike Hart, Mario Manningham. Those guys they were studs.
I forgot about those guys.
So to go in there and win that game, all of a sudden it's like, well, you look at things differently. It's, okay, do I want to go to a big school and you really have to, bring in big-time guys every year, competing? Well, I'm not going to shy away from competition, but where can I stay relatively close to home that's far enough away where I can't get home in a night? Family can come see me play. If I need to get home, I can. Really competitive team, and now a nationally recognized team. So, and education, that mattered to me too.
Yeah.
So when they called me, I was interested. And I went there as a quarterback. And Armani Edwards was there at the time. For those who don't know about Armani Edwards, when I played at App, we were formerly 1AA, right, which doesn't exist anymore. Now you got the FCS and the FBS, and Armani is the only 2-time Walter Payton Award winner in 1AA history, which Walter Payton is the equivalent of the Heisman for Power 5 schools. He was special. He just had the it factor. The game was slow for him.
Yeah.
He didn't have the strongest arm, but he was accurate. I mean, he could throw a pin and hit the bullseye of a dartboard from anywhere in the room, right? He just had that feel for the game. So I knew I wasn't touching the field at quarterback in my first couple of years because he was a junior when I got there. So I really knew I had a couple of years to really learn from him and develop from him, which I was okay with. I think that there's a lot of benefit to sitting behind somebody and learning from them before you get out there. So went to college. I was his backup my redshirt freshman year. I redshirted. Backed him up for 2 years. And then going into my redshirt junior year, the coaches came to me and said, hey, we want you to stay at quarterback. And we want to have some design packages around you in a much lesser version. Imagine like Tim Tebow was his freshman year at Florida. 10, 15 snaps a game. 3rd and 1, we want you to run and get the first down. We're going to have some pass plays for you. More like Wildcat type situational plays. And that was just a way to get me in the game and get acclimated and really kind of have a dual system.
Yeah.
But they also said, we want you to also play H-back. Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz type player, which in today's game has become and this was when H-back was really just, what is an H-back? Well, it's not a running back and it's not a tight end. It's kind of a hybrid of that, right? You got to be able to get in a 3-point stance, 2-point receiver stance. You got to be in motion a lot. It's really for like a utility athletic guy.
Yeah.
And I said, sure, whatever I can do to contribute to the team and get on the field, I think I can really bring value there. So at that point in time, man, I was focused on getting bigger and stronger. I showed up on campus my freshman year, 200 pounds, soaking wet. After first fall camp, I was about 195, 190, And then every year I put on about 10 pounds. So, by this point, I'm probably 225, 230 going into this season. We're in fall camp. Mm-hmm. It's third day of practice. It's August 11th. I'm on punt return team. So I was the utility guy. I was on all special teams. I was taking reps at quarterback in practice, reps at H-back in practice. So I was never sitting still unless defense, right? But even then, I was still out there running plays from a scout team or second team reps. I was they don't even have this anymore. We had it when you played the wedge on punt team, right?
Yeah.
So the wedge, for anybody who doesn't know what that means, you got 3 offensive linemen typically that are standing in front of the punter. And they snap the ball through and they converge and form a wall in front of the punter. And somebody on that punt return team has the job of busting that wedge wide open so that 2 guys can come around it. And you're trying to get those 3 guys to focus on you. Well, I was the wedge buster, man.
Yeah. Why not?
That was my job. You asked me to do my job, I'm going to do it 100%. And so rushed the wedge, helmet-to-helmet contact, right, which is hard to avoid in football. Next thing I know, I felt just a massive shock in my back. And I didn't know what really was happening at that time. I just thought, oh, man, you got hit, right? Well, I was laying on the ground, and the trainer starts sprinting over to me. And I was in shock. I didn't think anything of it at the time. But I tried to get up, and I couldn't get up. And what they saw was when I tried, I had paralysis from just under my kneecap down. So they have what they call drop foot. Drop foot is where your foot just drops and you got no movement in it. Mm-hmm. I ruptured my L4, my L5, and my S1. So your lower 3 vertebrae. Complete rupture. The disc just completely, shot out the back of my spine, hit all the nerves, killed all the feeling and movement to my left leg. And I was rushed to the hospital. God works mysterious ways. My sister at the time was a full-time nanny. And she was a nanny for the top spinal surgeon in the Southeast, a guy named Josh Pat. Mm-hmm. So she called, my trainer's got a hold of my family. She calls Josh and says, hey, Jay's just hurt his spine and can't move his foot, yada, yada. And at this point, I'm in the training room when they're trying to figure out what all's going on. And he said, get him to my house, get him down here ASAP. So I was taken down to Charlotte and went right to his house. He helped me inside. I had crutches. He did a couple tests and he said, get to the hospital now. And he called the hospital and put me right in the front. Went right into surgery. He said, every minute that goes by that you don't get feeling back or you don't get these discs that have ruptured off of your nerves, the chance of you getting feeling and moving back will slowly decline. So I was rushed to the hospital, had surgery about 5 a.m. They went in there, cleaned out the discs, shaved them down, and closed me back up. And I had pretty extensive rehab, man. I had a walker for 2 months. I didn't drop out of school, but I had a medical leave of absence. Mm-hmm. Went home with my family for about 60 days, had a walker, had to walk with the walker everywhere I went, just take a right step and drag that foot. Slowly over time, that muscle memory and the movement came back, and I was doing a ton of rehab 3 times a day, every day. Finally got cleared to go back to school, and I just lived in the training room, man, Mm-hmm. And so, they used to throw all these marbles on the floor, and I had to use my toes to pick these marbles up and put them into a cup. Oh, man, I'm cussing up a storm, right? I'm getting so upset because I'm sitting here trying to pick up 100 marbles with my toe. And but it was a process, man. And so, naturally everybody's telling me, you don't want to mess with this kind of injury. Don't come back. Don't play. It's not worth it.
Yeah, you're done. Your career's over.
In a lot of cases, yeah. But before I was willing to I didn't even allow that thought in my brain. For me, that's not even an option. So I hear what you're saying, but I didn't even feel like I considered that to be something that was on the table. It was, no, I'm going to figure out how to get back, and I'll do what it takes to get there. So I rehabbed all of August, September, October, November, December, January. Finally, and look, I remember the first time in the weight room doing leg press, my strength coach, who Mike Kent at the time, loved that guy, man. Just a hard-nosed, old-school strength coach. He had me on a leg press, no weight on the machine, and I remember doing a single leg, and, my leg just, there was no stability. It was just like starting fresh, man, like a new deer that was born learning how to walk, man. Very humbling, very humbling. Long story short, though, man, I rehabbed it back, and I got cleared right before spring practice.
Wow.
And
You injured yourself at the beginning of fall camp.
Mm-hmm.
So that's in August, September?
Yeah, August 11th.
August 11th, and now you're already back
Into February.
Spring.
Into February. That my goal.
That is
My goal was
intense.
I will be back for spring practice. 'Cause
Wow.
as a former athlete, Frank, spring practice, that's really where you have the opportunity to kind of solidify yourself going into fall camp. Because fall camp, you pretty much know who your starters are going to be. The first 2 weeks of camp are assessment, getting guys back in shape, and really just building that mental fortitude.
Mm-hmm.
The latter half of camp, we're prepping for the first game.
Absolutely.
And so we're not really evaluating anymore. So I knew if I didn't get back for spring, then this was going to be a totally different situation. So I came back, eased back into it. The coaches were very kind of timid about it. And I got my starting spot back at H-back going into that season, man. And that was huge for me because it wasn't even about proving people wrong. I didn't care what other people thought. Nobody knows what's going through. You can't see reality through somebody else's eyes, right? So nobody knew what I was feeling or what my real determination was. I just wanted to prove myself right that, look, you have this in front of you. What are you going to do? Right? Like, what's your options? Your back's against the wall. There's two ways you can go. You can sulk, you can be upset, and you can say, man, my career didn't work out the way it was supposed to. Or you can do everything you can and look in the mirror and say, well, I damn sure know I turned every stone that was in front of me to get back, right? So, but during that year, going back to one of the earlier points that you made, when I was rehabbing all season long, Coach Moore called me in and said, hey, I'd love for you to help us from, a coaching perspective. He's like, I'd love for you to be in the box with a headset talking to our special teams coordinator, helping him see things from a bird's eye view. And that was very exciting for me because the longer I played football, I never felt out of love with the game. I love the game today. But what I really found was that my interest was in the preparation for the game. The weightlifting, the conditioning, all the work that nobody sees that prepares you for just a 60-minute game on Saturday. That's just 60 minutes of the whole equation, man. Everything else is dictated really before you get there. But I love the strategy. I loved, getting on the whiteboard, drawing plays, understanding, watching film, reading defenses, looking for cues, drawing up a game plan that was going to allow us to be successful against what different looks and coverages we were getting on defense. Because to me, football is like a game of chess. And I don't think a lot of people don't realize how strategic football really is, man. I mean, you're trying to outsmart the other team. If you can outsmart them, you don't have to have the best athletes on the field to win. You just got to put your guys in the right place and position to be succcable. And then we'll get into how that correlates to the corporate world here in a little bit.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it was certainly a life-changing experience, that whole ordeal. Certainly changed perspective and really made me appreciate things in a different light. But I wouldn't change it for anything, man. It's part of the journey, part of the story.
It's so crazy that you mentioned that. I hear this all the time. When we talk about people overcoming obstacles and significant challenges in their lives, I always want to ask that question. And most of the time, before I can even ask it, people say, I wouldn't change anything because that made me who I am. Isn't that an interesting perspective? And the whole thing. The obstacle is the way, and you have to fight through it. And the story of the butterfly who has to find its way out of the cocoon and all that stuff. So tell me, throughout that experience, what did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about your strength, desire, the ability to overcome that obstacle?
I wouldn't say I learned this, but I would say that it was the validation that kind of confirmed what I felt was I prefer to be under pressure. I prefer to operate with my back against the wall because I think, two things happen when you squeeze somebody. They're going to focus or they're going to fold. And I learned that for me, having to overcome something gave me more discipline and more intrinsic motivation because it gave me something to chase, right? And I think that's critical in anything in life, having something to chase. What are you trying to accomplish? How are you trying to do it? And why are you trying to do it, right? And so for me, I have a unique kind of viewpoint on this, but I'm a glutton for punishment, but only because I think it's necessary. I think that you have to be willing to suffer in order to grow and change, right? It's like anything in life. If you're not willing to really push your boundaries and experience the unknown and, the old saying of get comfortable being uncomfortable, how do you know what your true potential is, right? And so for me, that whole experience was, okay, this is the hand that you're dealt. You got two ways you can go with this. You can just let this define you, or you can let this define you in the way that you want it to define you. And that's by, no matter what you put in front of me, I'm going to figure out a way to overcome it, right? I mean, my whole mentality of anything is, humbly, I truly feel I'm just unbeatable, right? Like, you're going to knock me up. I'm going to take some shots. I'm going to have some scars. I get that. But losing is just never something that I really ever considered. We'll find a way to win somehow. For me, that was a validating moment that I operate better and I'm more dialed in and focused when I know I've got to overcome something.
So how important is that mindset, that mentality? And are you able to teach that? Are you able to pass that on to people you work with?
I think it's extremely important. I think on an earlier podcast today, this conversation, not this exact conversation, but the concept around, what separates successful people, whoever you want to call it, athletes. Like, I'm certainly not in the Michael Jordan category. I'm not even in the same universe as him. But there's this saying that the greats of anything, the Tom Brady's, the Joe Montanas, the Kobe Bryant's, the Michael Jordans, all these folks, it's not that the other people outside of that group lack something that those folks have. It's actually the opposite. The people that become successful or hyper successful, depending on their definition of success, which is relative, they lack something that the others don't. They don't have an off button. They don't know how to turn it off. They don't allow themselves to even consider the option of quitting or folding or falling short of what they're trying to achieve. And so it's a mindset, it's a belief that this is the requirement and the expectation of who I am, and this is the way that I'm going to operate. And I think that for me, I gravitate towards that, because if you don't, then, what's the alternative, right? You allow yourself to almost let mediocrity just absorb into yourself, and that's not the kind of individual that I want to be. Now, can you teach that? I think you can teach it to an extent, but I do think it's something that you either have or you don't. I do think there are a lot of people in this world that they have it or they don't have it. The question is, if you don't have it, do you have the discipline to create it? Because motivation is going to take you so far, but if you don't have the discipline, then you're not going to be that type of individual.
I would even say, related to that, in my own experience, if there's ever a time of doubt, but I witness someone who achieves something I think is impossible or accomplishes something that I think I couldn't do, that's enough to see someone else doing that and then to create this belief, this mindset, well, wait a second, that's achievable. That's doable. So maybe you don't exactly, it's not, you put it down on paper, these are the steps to build, but just being the example, going through that process every day.
Do you think that something's unachievable in this world for you personally?
Yes. I'm never going to win a Super Bowl.
Within logical reason.
But you know what's funny about that? What's really funny about that is I think I had that thought buried somewhere in the back of my mind a long time ago. And I don't know. Maybe if I had a different mindset about that, it would have been different.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a question everybody has to ask themselves,
Really interesting.
And look, it's as simple as, I'll use a very cheesy example here. But, in the world we live in today, social media, influencers, it's really fed this new environment of instant gratification, instant success. People feel a bit entitled to things. And I have a very hard time getting even close to a point of toleration when it comes to that kind of stuff, right? It's not reality in my opinion. And I think that we are creating false reality through all these platforms that we have now. So
no doubt.
Yeah, we don't need to go down a social media route. But for me, there was one time I was talking with my buddies and we're looking at something, he was showing me something, and this guy had, he's like 25 years old and he does YouTube videos and was getting off of a private jet and he was making, like tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And my buddy made a comment, he was like, man, can you imagine having your own private jet someday, just go wherever you want to go? And I just very calmly just said, yeah, I can.
Sure.
That doesn't feel unachievable. And that's just a cheesy example, right? I mean, but to me, it's like, well, of course that's achievable. What do you mean? Like, if that guy can do it, why can't you do it? And I told my buddy, I was like, why would you think you couldn't? And he was just like, that's actually a really good point. I don't know why I felt like that. I was like, because it's something you haven't achieved. You don't know what it takes to get there. It's the unknown. But anybody that has achieved something like that was also in a point in their life where they probably thought, and I'm light years away from that, but they said, that's not impossible. And they just figured it. If you're willing to figure out a way, how far are you willing to go is the question.
Yeah.
How far are you willing to go?
Yeah.
And that stuff's not for everybody. I get that, man. But I don't think if you automatically rule out the possibility that you can achieve something, well, you're already settling for something that
then you'll never achieve it.
You're settling for something that's less than really what you are.
Yeah. If you can believe it, you can achieve it.
Yeah.
Well, I want to transition to, there's been so many great lessons that you've talked about. And I want to transition to your role today with TransImpact. You've done a nice job. You have a great title, CRO. You're still a young man. Obviously, you've achieved in the business world. Tell us about that process. How did you end up? You finish up your collegiate career. You overcome this tremendous obstacle. How do you find yourself in this position you are today with TransImpact?
Yeah, good question, man. So, and I'd love to say that my injuries stopped in college, but I've had my fair share in my adulthood life as well. So maybe we'll get into some of that, but if we don't, that's fine with me. Right out of college, as I was mentioning before, I really fell in love with the behind-the-scenes aspect of the game.
Yes.
The preparation, the weightlifting, the conditioning, the strategy, and all those things. And I wanted to stay involved somehow from an athletic perspective to help and give back, but also that's what really drove. I was passionate about it. So right out of the gate, I got my undergraduate degree at Appalachian State in pre-law. Wanted to go to law school. Quickly realized after a few years of school, 3 more years is not really sound like something I want to go do. But I really loved law, and I still love it today. So I got my MBA while I was there, since I got redshirted in international business. And I knew that would allow me to kind of open up some doors. Studied abroad for a little while after football was over, so that last spring semester. And then coming out of school, I decided, you know what, before I commit to the 8 to 5, I want to drive through my passion and figure out if there's a path here. So I ended up opening up a gym with some investors and gave that a try a gym was open for 18 months, startup, went well. The investors, unfortunately, personally, had a pretty big separation, which kind of crushed funding and capital. Good lesson learned for me,
Absolutely.
Right? So those are the things, like I always try to look back at, well, this is happening for a reason. And I'm going to figure out something from this. And oftentimes for me, it's what not to do in a situation. I think life's one big process of elimination. You just start to kind of remove things from the plate as you experience things, and learning what not to do narrows your focus in the future. So now you got this scope of, you understand, here's the kind of the decision points that I need to live within. And I can isolate and have a more focused vision because I know what not to do.
Sure.
So started off in that, and then transitioned from that into a supplement company, athletic supplements, health and nutrition, ran sales and marketing for this company. And then after that, got into land acquisition, home building, real estate. And that was really for me just mid-20s, kind of plant my feet somewhere where I could make some money, knowing long-term probably wasn't what my career was going to be. But like any 20-year-old, figure it out. You know, I got time, right?
Absolutely.
Because I was enjoying my 20s, man. You know, I was coming out of school and you know,
Yes.
I wanted to enjoy life, man.
Sure.
And so at the time, this was 2017, summer of 2017. My father at the time, retired now, but he was a CMO for a company called ARC Transit. They're an asset-based trucking company located in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Okay.
And they had just formed a partnership with, at the time, Transportation Impact, now TransImpact. And this was when TransImpact was founded in 2008, so they weren't even 10 years old.
Yeah.
He called me one day because he knew I was starting to put some feelers out for, and it's time I want to make my next move in my career. And he called me one day and said, hey, like, I don't know if you want to get into the industry or not. My dad was a 40-year supply chain transportation guy. So I'd been around it secondhand, was accustomed to, you know, the lingo, the nomenclature, but never really heavily involved, didn't have super extensive knowledge about it.
Sure.
He said, hey, we just partnered with this company and they have one of the most fascinating business models. And these guys are, man, they're having fun and they're killing it. And I was like, oh, yeah, you know, I'm open to any conversation right now. So he gave my resume to the two founders at the time who are now retired and living their best life. And
good for them.
Love those guys, man.
Yeah.
I mean, what these guys built is second to none from a culture perspective, and they deserve what they've earned. Got a phone call from our now CEO, Berkeley Stafford, who at the time was a VP of sales. His EA reached out to me and she said, hey, we'd like to set up a phone interview for you in Berkeley. I said, great. I mean, I prepped for this thing. I have 4 pages of notes written down. I'm ready to go. Get on the phone with him. Conversation lasted 2.5 minutes. Hey, tell me about yourself. Tell me what we do. And he said, all right, I've heard enough. I want to get you down here in person for an interview. I said, okay, that was
nailed
good.
it.
Yeah, that was good, you know? So he had a tight criteria of, hey, if I hear this, I'm good to get him in. If I don't hear this, then,
thank you.
Which I have a lot of respect for.
Sure.
And I have a lot of respect for Berkeley too, man. He's a great guy, great leader, and he's done an exceptional job at the organization. And so went down to Emerald Isle, North Carolina, where we're headquartered today. Very unique place to have a headquarters on the coast of North Carolina. Showed up for the interview, big conference room, circular table, or U-shaped table, and every seat was filled. I mean, the 2 co-founders were in there, the whole leadership team, which was great. I'm glad that they took it serious. Interviewed for the job, and that was just an individual sales contributor. So I was just coming in as a sales rep. Yeah. And interview went well enough to get a job offer and decided to take the leap. I didn't know anything about small parcel, the nuances of really how they did what they did. I knew I had a big learning curve, but I was, kind of to my point earlier, that's what excited me about it was, all right, now the pressure's on for you to prove to yourself that you can go do something.
And that's where you operate.
Exactly. And so for me too, look, I don't think anybody grows up saying, man, I really want to work in supply chain logistics. I really want to work in small parcel optimization, cost reduction, all this kind of stuff, right? But
said nobody.
Yeah,
ever.
And I think 99% of the population ends up working in a field that they never thought that they would be in.
That's probably true.
But what keeps people there are the people that they do it with, and the culture that's built at a company, and the vision, and the way that you treat people, the way that you celebrate the wins, the way that you handle the hard times, right? You want to work with like-minded individuals because you want to feel that you're building something that's bigger than yourself, right? And you want to see your fingerprints on that. So I joined the company in 2017, sales rep, remote, so working from Charlotte. And we were probably 50 employees at this time. Very successful at the contract negotiation space, so helping companies renegotiate their agreements with the large national small parcel carriers. And I was in the individual sales role from July of 2017 until October of 2019. They asked me to interview for the director of sales role. And I interviewed for it because, kind of rewinding to my initial interview, they asked me, like any company does, where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years?
Yeah.
And I said, well, I see myself in a leadership position, should the opportunity be there, because that is what I aspire. And they said, well, where do you see yourself 10, 15 years from now? Like any, bold mid-20s guy, I looked right at the co-founder at that time who was leading the company. We didn't have a CEO at the time, but he was the acting CEO if we had one. And I said, I want to be in your seat. I want to sit where you're sitting. And
That's a bold move, Cotton.
yeah. And they never forgot it though, which is why I'm still there.
Wow.
And so
Okay, let me ask you about that. Because there's probably a lot of people who would be willing to say that. I don't know how many people would have the belief that they would actually be there. Do you think that's part of what you were able to portray, is that, like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
I'm going to be leading this company. I think that's unbelievable.
Yeah, man. I believed it when I said it.
Yeah.
You know, I felt
Another great lesson.
I felt that was what I was here to do, was lead people and create a vision, create a culture, and create a collective group of individuals that could join together and build something bigger than themselves, no matter what it was. And that's just what I aspired for, you know?
Yeah.
And obviously with that comes the ability to create a life for my family and
Sure.
all the stuff that comes
All the
with
benefits.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what I wanted. And so I was very open and honest about that. And all I asked for was an opportunity. And so in fall of 2019, they came to me and said, I would like for you to interview for the director role. I did. There was like 5 other interviewees. They offered me the role. And we actually didn't come to terms at that time because I just candidly said that I think that the offer is not what is going to allow me to make the decision to move. I'll stay in sales for now because I still believed that that was my path, but it didn't feel that that was the right time to make that move. I was also in a good position. I had a really healthy pipeline, so I knew that there was some things that I didn't want to miss out on.
Yeah.
And I was catching my stride, man. I'd only been doing it for 2 years, you know? And so I really had just built up my base of kind of just feeling very dangerous, you know? And I'm like, man, I really want to see what I can do in this. And well, fast forward, come about February of 2020, which, you know, we're creeping up on when the world turned upside down.
No kidding.
Yeah. There was a big account, BB&T at the time, now Truist. They were a old former client of ours, just on a post-audit recovery service, just filing for refunds. And we were doing a campaign internally of digging up old clients and trying to reinvigorate relationships. And so they said, hey, Jay, we want you to take a swing at BB&T. I'm like, okay. Nobody had been able to close that account. I mean, one of the largest financial institutions in the country. And so took a swing at it and ended up, long story short, getting them on the hook right in the middle of their merger with SunTrust. So they're going through a merger, rebranded to Truist, many, many moving parts, a very unorthodox deal for our standard client, but I was able to close it. And that was, I think, kind of the defining moment where everybody said, we need to make sure we get this guy and keep this guy, right? Because there's something going on. I'm assuming that's what they said. So I get a random text on a Sunday afternoon. Mind you, I live 5 hours from Emerald Isle, Charlotte, and it's not a fun drive. And it's not a fun flight either. I mean, it's a great location, but it's just very inconvenient to get to.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, I need you in the office tomorrow morning. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, Berkeley, and at the time, my former boss, they're like, we need to meet with you in person. I'm like, oh, God, okay. Like, what did I do? You know what I mean? Like, is there something I need to check my CRM updated? Probably not, right? No. Probably not. So I drive down, wee hours in the morning. I think I leave at like 4 a.m., get to the office around 9, walk right in. The EA takes me upstairs. I walk into Berkeley's office. They close the door. I sit on the couch. Berkeley's at his desk, and then my boss is in a chair. And they just hand me a piece of paper, and they say, congratulations, you've officially been promoted to the director of sales. And I'm like, well, you know, we need to talk about, like, we've already kind of been down this path. Like, what's going on? So I looked at the offer sheet, and it was more aligned with what I was expecting. Well, then they dropped the bomb and said, oh, and by the way, don't say anything, but in about 48 hours, we're announcing our acquisition from the Jordan Company, our private equity group. So we're selling. And co-founders are retiring. And we had a sister company at the time called First Flight Solutions, and we were merging the companies. And so overnight, I went to the director's seat. The very next week, the world shuts down. We merged our two companies. We get purchased by a private equity group, and I inherit 15 sales reps that I have to manage remotely in the COVID era as my first leadership position. But again, I wouldn't change that for anything because my back was against the wall.
Yeah.
So now you asked me to step into a position in a completely unorthodox manner that nobody has ever had to manage through. It was first for anybody in the country going through this. But in a first-time director role, I got 15 reps all over the country, remote, that I can't even see in person. We can't even do client visits anymore.
And the world shut down.
And you're asking me to run it. I said, okay.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Love it.
I said, I'll take it on. Let's go. And so I was in the director's seat from March of 2020 until July of 2021, promoted to executive director, which took some more responsibility underneath my seat. And then September of 22, I was promoted to VP. And then a year later, promoted to SVP of sales and marketing. So I took over all of the revenue team, sales, marketing, client success, all those. And then in fall of 24, I was promoted to CRO.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's just a few months ago.
Yep. So about a year in the seat. Yep.
For you.
Yep. So I've been at the company. It'll be 8 years in July.
That's a great story. I love it. Okay, now here's the part. Here's the good stuff. First of all, give me a commercial. Tell us all about TransImpact and what you guys do.
Oh, sure, man. So we are a supply chain logistics technology company. All right, we focus on parcel spend management and supply chain planning. So if I were to break out our product portfolio for you, I'll explain what our specific verticals are from a solution standpoint.
Okay.
Starting on the parcel side, contract negotiation. So we help companies get best-in-class, market-appropriate pricing agreements with the 2 national carriers, saving them tremendous amounts of money. On average, 23.6% net savings directly to the bottom line, year over year for a 3-year carrier agreement, right to EBITDA. We have a SaaS platform called Parcel Spend Intelligence, data visibility, analytics, complete detailed reporting into your shipping operations, actionable insights for all the optimization. So now we want to put the best pricing in place. Now we want to help you make the best operational decisions to continue to cut down the unnecessary costs that you are incurring simply because you don't have the ability to see the issues that are taking place. And we give them that guiding light into how to solve them. And then we have our margin intelligence tools. One of those is called parcel cost variance. That's showing the actual cost versus the expected cost of a package, which are always different. And then our most unique and differentiator, parcel margin analysis. So what we can do, we can take all your transportation cost data. We marry that with all of your sales data, revenue, cost of goods sold, and we can tell you the margin on every SKU of product going out the door. So you know exactly how profitable you are. So our whole ethos is margin impact, directly impacting the bottom line, increasing profitability from a parcel spend management perspective. Supply chain planning. This is where we focus on demand for forecasting and supply planning. So getting the right product in the right place at the right time, right? Are you forecasting? Decreasing being out of stock, decreasing overstock, right? Accurate forecasting so you have correct allotment, correct inventory and SKUs when you need it, not having to replenish at a last minute that's going to cost you an arm and a leg to get these things in the door. But you know when you need it and you have it where it needs to be so it's sorted correctly and getting out in the most efficient manner. We have S&OP, sales and operations planning, which is a huge need in the marketplace. That's really where that kind of bridges the entire organization together. That's where all the departments can talk and live and breathe the same data on that unified dashboard across the company. And then we're getting into FP&A, financial planning and analysis, which is on our roadmap right now. So helping companies to manage their parcel spend, manage that spend through the optimization of the agreements, visibility through analytics and margin impact, and then marrying that with optimizing your complete inventory operation from demand to supply planning into S&OP.
Well, I think this is interesting because you talked about, in your athletics background, you talked about the importance of adaptability. And I know that transportation, now TransImpact, didn't start with all of these things. Tell us how important that has been, the adaptability in an ever-changing market and how you guys manage that.
Yeah, man. So From 2008, when the company was founded, really all the way up until 2020, we specialized in contract negotiation and our post-audit recovery service, right? So we're filing for refunds, which we still have that today. That's part of our parcel spin intelligence platform. That was our bread and butter. And we were best in the business at it, still are today, but that's all we focused on because, well, that's what the founders knew and that's what built the business. When the Jordan Company purchased us in 2020, our vision, long-term vision, was to really become a true SaaS and technology firm. I think this show is a great testament to where the market was going and where it already is today, and it's happened fast.
Yes.
So we knew our long-term strategy, and here's why. Contract negotiation. These are 3-year contracts with carriers. So we're negotiating best-in-class pricing, getting that agreement set, we're monitoring that agreement, making sure that the carrier is complying with everything we've negotiated. There's going to be some incremental opportunities throughout that 3 years for us to drive additional savings. And that's one of the benefits of our clients having us in the room is we're coming to them, telling them, hey, the carrier has announced X changes. Here's how it impacts your business. We can get this mitigated, and we help them do that. But if there's not significant market change or growth within an organization that's impacting their parcel spend and their operations, at the end of that 3 years, there may not be any meat on the bone left. And if there is, it's nothing like the first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's naturally part of the business that there's going to be a lot of churn. We wanted to have sustainable, not just client logos, but we want to have sustainable value and revenue that it could extend beyond just a 3-year churn year over year. Well, that's where the SaaS play comes in. Now, you also have to factor in being private equity owned from an enterprise value perspective and, the multiple that comes into that. That dollar of a annual recurring revenue dollar is valued very differently than that transactional dollar. And so we wanted to make sure we could still maximize revenue and profits on the legacy advisory side, but now we wanted to add in this recurring revenue stream that could allow us to maintain less churn and a steady growth trajectory to scale over long term. And also for the benefit of the PE, because that's where they're going to get the biggest return. Yeah. So we immediately went on the acquisition trail. We went out and bought 3 companies in about 18 months. 2 of those companies were technology companies. One was very boutique from a Power BI based analytics company. So we have a lot of individual analytics modules that companies wouldn't know that we have because we don't really market those. They are add-ons or upgrades to our base products. But I mean, they are very savvy tools. And we can get into all that, but I'll kind of spare the whole sales pitch. And then the other company was an inventory optimization company, right? And so what we had was this vision of creating this future ecosystem that was an end-to-end supply chain technology company. We had already mastered the parcel spin management side. Now we've acquired the inventory optimization, now the supply chain planning side. We had this really robust analytics suite that could really plug and play in any type of company to solve needs more at a customized level. And so these were kind of the first legs we wanted to plant to really build this ecosystem and drive cross-departmental collaboration, cross-sell, and get clients utilizing multiple products. And then we went through the integration process, and that was very interesting because when you are 12 years focused on one thing, right? And now you are trying to tap into the SaaS space, which is it's not entirely different, but there are a lot of similarities, but there are a lot of differences in how you scale a SaaS company and what is our pricing going to be? Is it user-based? Is it transactional-based? Is it, overall data-based? And there's a lot of different ways you can slice it up. And then how do we grow that footprint? How do we build a partner ecosystem? Do we have VARs, value-added resellers, standard resellers, referral partners, strategic partners, system integration partners, all these things that's like new for a lot of folks that have been at the company. There's a lot of learning that goes into that. Sure. Not to mention when you're trying to integrate 2 different tech companies into a unified platform. And so these were growing, I'll call them growing pains, but I like that because I think you have to embrace the pain and the challenge that comes with it, right? I mean, it's just natural. You have to expect that's going to be part of the process. Yeah. Anybody that acquires a company and you think it's going to be a smooth operation to just fold that joker in, you don't have the right expectation of what you're about to embark on. And so for us, the last 4 years has been all about integration, product enhancement, rebrand, unified platform to make it easier on our clients, but give them a better customer experience. But all across our ecosystem, Frank, everything we do is about driving impact to margin. It all ties back to margin improvement. And we're going to continue on this path. We are committed, and we've been very successful. We've certainly made mistakes along the way, like any company has. But the one thing we've done well is that when we recognize course correction is necessary, we're willing to make that change. Yeah. You're willing to be adaptable.
Yeah, that's key. So responding to market needs, leading change in the market, and I love all of these lessons that you learned from your career in athletics and how they kind of flow through to what you're doing today, overcoming obstacles, adaptability. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about, you said that personally you love the preparation. That's what you discovered about yourself. You really liked all of the stuff leading up to when you actually took a snap or when you actually got to a game. Are you able to incorporate that into, in your personal career, I could see that. Are you able to incorporate that in your role today, the preparation with your team and getting everybody on the same page, getting out to market?
I certainly try, And
I guess the real question is, how critical is that for you and for the company to have that kind of preparation mindset?
I think it's arguably the most critical. And look, going back to football, as a QB, if you study the film, and you go into that week of whoever your opponent is, and you're studying what they do schematically on defense, how they line up against different formations, against different looks. If I motion this guy, does the backer follow? Are they playing man defense, or does he sit and he's playing zone and somebody else is picking him up across the field? Little cues like that you have to really study and understand, because if you understand that well, what are my cover two beaters, my quarter beaters? If they're dropping Tampa 2 and that Mike's floating back 15 yards, can I put a tight end that drops 5 yards over the middle and dump it off and get 5, 6, 7 yards every single play, right? Take what the defense gives you. The game is slower. The game is slower when you're prepared, because when you walk out in the field and you line up in that formation and you see that they've lined up exactly how you thought on film, you already know where you're going with the ball. You only have to think. It's just react. It's put the ball on the spot because you already know what's going to happen. It's when you're not prepared that you're having to then take the snap, or pre-snap read, get the ball, drop back, look one side, my first option, second option, third option, dump it down. Now you're sitting in the pocket for 4 seconds versus 1.5 seconds, and you get the ball out of your hand, right? And at the end of the day, that's how you execute. And so preparation for me is key, because the more prepared my teams can be going into everything that they're being asked to do, the more confident they're going to be.
Absolutely.
And the more efficient they're going to be. I think the biggest demise of any organization, Frank, is the inability to make decisions. And, and not being able to make decisions is a direct byproduct of not being prepared. If you're prepared, you're going to be able to make a decision quicker. And that decision may be you got to bail, and you got to audible, you got to pivot, but you knew to audible because you already knew they lined up in something that didn't match what you saw on film.
Well, your guy said that this week during the Super Bowl week. Tom Brady talked about the value of preparation and how, he wasn't the most athletic, he didn't have the strongest arm, he didn't have all of the stuff, some of the intangibles. But one thing that he did have is that he prepared better than anybody else. And so just exactly what you're talking about. He knew what was going to happen before it happened. And that was the key to his success.
And I think in business, man, look, I could draw correlations all day from football to the business world, right?
I mean,
they're eerily similar if you really get down at a granular level. But I'm a big believer that first off, you have to have the vision, right? You got to have the vision of what we are trying to accomplish. And that's set by the CEO. That's, Berkeley is the visionary. Here's where we are. Here's where we want to go. And then it's up to the rest of the leadership team to execute that vision with our teams, right? So we know and we have buy-in on that vision, right? It's a team. We're very collaborative, which is something I love about the company. But how do we actually go execute on that? When you're delivering that message to your leaders, who are really the ones that run the business, right? That next level, and everybody underneath them, that same message has to get delivered all the way down.
Right.
And it's not my job to go all the way down and deliver that, right? I have to trust my leaders to do their job. So I believe in autonomy. I believe in ownership. I believe in everybody having a voice. But we got to be saying the same things, right? The only way you get somebody to buy in and say what you need them to say is you gotta explain the what. What are we doing, right? What are we trying to achieve? But more importantly, how are we going to achieve it? What's our roadmap to success? And why are we going down this path? What's the why, right? Because if the team doesn't know why are we, Jay, why are we trying to, implement this strategy into something? It's already working what we're doing today. You have to give them the details behind that in order for them to understand why we have this vision.
Yeah.
But the how to that as well, I was talking about this earlier with somebody. If you're a sales rep and you have a $3 million quota for a calendar year, and I say, Frank, you gotta go sell $3 million this year, man. Let me know if I can help you.
Good luck.
Some people, they have the knack, they can create a plan, they can go, but that's not the norm. Most don't have that. Nor should you put that responsibility on an individual contributor, because if you're a leader, your job is to lean in on your people and coach them and develop them. Show them how it needs to be done, so then you can tell them what needs to be done.
We're getting into another topic. It's a great transition on the leadership side because, some of my greatest leaders, I always felt like they trusted me, they believed in me, and then they were present. Like they were there to help me get it done. You mentioned a great leader that you had in your coach at App State.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some of those lessons transferred down to you. But that's a critical piece of any organization is how the leadership.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Jerry Morris, he said a lot of really great things, but there was two things that he said repeatedly that are just hardwired in my brain. Number one, life's about people. You can leave it at that. Life is about people. And the second thing was, what do you want to be remembered for? And those go hand in hand. And that's what he was trying to say to us, is that life is about people, and what do you want to be remembered for? And I took that as, you want to leave a legacy as someone that people will look back on and say, that guy made me better. That guy helped me through hard times. That guy helped me get to the next step that I really was struggling to get to. Or he was a voice of reason that could help me really logically get through an obstacle that I was facing. Or he was just somebody that I knew I could try to emulate and follow, or something of that regard. But did you bring value to the people around you? And like at our company, we say this all the time. We had a sales summit. Every year we do 2 summits. About a third of the company, really all the top line contributors. We had our first one in January. We do one in the mid-year. And in my opening remarks to the company, I said, look, in a perfect world, we would love nothing more than for everybody in this room to spend the rest of their career TransImpact and be wildly successful. But the reality is that's much less likely than the alternative. There's a lot of people in this room that are maybe not going to be here for one reason or the other. But I'll tell you this, our goal is to help you all be so successful that if there does come a time where you have an opportunity to go somewhere else because there's just not a seat here with where we are, your growth has accelerated past the company's growth, and you're ready for the next challenge, and you get an opportunity to go do that, to go make more money or get that title or take on a new challenge, we are going to support you more than your family's going to support you, because to us, that's what we are about, right? It's how do we help you as an individual? We're not going to be upset if you come to us and say, hey, Jay, I got a great opportunity, man. I've got this offer. If we can match it, we're going to try, because we don't want to lose anybody that's a good performer. But we're not going to be upset. Like, we're going to congratulate you and celebrate with you. And that's what we're here to do, right? We want to invest in our people and make sure they understand this is bigger than just TransImpact. This is about you, because your people are your business, right? I took that away from Jerry Moore, man. It's just, it wasn't about winning football games. It was about the guys, your brothers in arms and the ones around you guys, we're fighting for the same thing, you know? And I think there's a big difference. I say this all the time, my teammates probably get tired of me saying the same things 24/7, but there's a difference in trying to be right and trying to get it right.
Yeah.
A lot of folks try to be right. They want to be the one that, man, that was my idea. Yeah, I'm the one that, instead of trying to get it right? Yeah. And if we can all get on the same page as to what are we trying to do, how are we going to do it, and why are we doing this, and focus on solving the root problem at the core, trying to get it right, that's how we're going to be successful.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, man, is straight from football.
Absolutely. Well, I think history is filled with stories of teams that are all on the same page. Maybe not as talented as another group, but those are the guys that go out and win.
Yes.
And so what you're talking about now is the importance of teams and the importance of culture, maybe over strategy in some areas. Tell me about, you mentioned culture earlier in our talk.
Yeah.
Tell me about that currently at TransImpact and what you do to help create that culture of winning at the company.
Well, we had a really good culture when I first joined the company. It was a work hard, play hard environment. I mean, we had a lot of fun, and it served us well. Now we are a totally different organization, right? We are 6 times the size from an employee count than when I joined, right? We're about 250 today. We were 50 then. Product portfolio looks totally different.
Yeah.
And not to mention, when you bring in 3 companies you acquire, they all have their own culture. And now you're trying to blend that in with your culture.
Yeah.
And when you are now bringing folks in and rolling them into your brand, there's a lot of sensitivity around that aspect that you have to pay close attention to. Because I've been working for this company for 20 years, and now that company doesn't exist because we're TransImpact, you got to take a step back and really, I think this is a key trait of leadership that lacks in a lot of areas, is you got to be very empathetic to these kind of things. If you don't take a step back and try to understand what their perspective is of the situation, and you're only looking at it from yourself, you're never going to reach that person. You don't know what they've gone through. You don't know what they dedicated to that company or what their personal life looks like. Any of those. And you don't have to get into a certain level of whatever they're willing to share, but you're doing a disservice to yourself and your team if you are not trying to really, through empathy, understand why they feel the way they feel. How are you going to reach them in the way they need to be reached if you don't know the root of what's driving that emotion out of them?
Such a great point.
So for us, culture, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't a challenge when you're trying to mesh all this together.
Right.
And we haven't been perfect with it. I mean, there's been a lot of trial and error because we have a Cleveland office, which is primarily consumed by one of the companies we acquired. And we have our Emerald Isle office, which is, our legacy office. And then we're mainly remote after that, And so we got a lot of folks that are spread out, and we try to get them together as often as we can. But you got one office that for a long time was really holding on to their legacy culture. We had our legacy culture. So you would get 2 different experiences kind of going to both. When you accept that and you acknowledge that, and then you really start to look empathetically through, all right, we got this team over here and they feel a little bit differently than this team does. Why? Now you start to have those one-on-one conversations, and you start to identify the folks that are adapting more quickly. And then you lean in on those folks.
Right.
And those are your champions. It's no different than sales, right? You find your champion that's going to be your advocate and your voice inside those 4 walls. You do the same thing internally in these things, and you say, hey, look, I need your help. I need your help to work with so-and-so and so-and-so to get them where you are, right? And it's going to be better received from you because you've worked with them for the last 10 years. And I want you to be the one that can help them. I don't want it to be me. I want it to be you, and I want you to get that because I'm asking you to be a leader. And then that empowers them. And then you're passing that down to the next group, right?
Well, it's no different than coach coming to somebody on the team and saying, hey, somebody who's aligned with the coach's vision, a leader on the team, it's going to be much easier for that team to get on board with the coach
100%.
When he has that guy on the inside. And that's all you're doing. You're identifying all those guys.
Yep, absolutely, man. So the culture at our company is, I'm a firm believer in this, man. If you lose, you can go either way first, whatever comes first. But if you lose your culture, you're going to lose your people.
No doubt.
And if you lose your people, you're going to lose your customers. And if you lose your customers, you're going to lose the business.
Yeah.
Right? So if you lose your people first, you're going to lose the culture either way, right? So it all starts with the culture of an organization. And that's why I say, I didn't wake up one day and say, man, you know what I want to be? I want to be a CRO at a supply chain logistics technology company. No, I didn't.
But look at everything you can do as the CRO.
It's a platform.
Of a logistics company.
It's a platform.
Absolutely.
And it's a platform you can use to help the people that are sitting on that same platform.
And I hope people will understand that. It's not like you could be the CRO of a paper manufacturer.
100%.
You could be the CRO of, a sand and gravel company. The same rules apply. Yep. I think that's such a great lesson. I'm so glad you talked about that.
You have to enjoy not necessarily what you do. Like, I think that's important. Okay?
For sure.
But in my opinion, it's more important about enjoying the environment that you're working in. Do I feel valued? Do I feel that the investment that I'm giving is being reciprocated by the company and they're also investing in me? Am I just a number on the stat sheet, or am I somebody in this company? I'm an individual, I'm a human being. Can I see the work that I'm doing every day? Can I see my fingerprints on this? Do I have a voice? Are we collaborating? Is my leader investing in me and helping me? Do I have strong relationships here that extend outside of just work hours? Do I want to go to lunch with anybody in this office? Can I have a conversation outside of my task list, right? Those little things are what matter the most.
Super meaningful.
This is where you spend most of your hours in a day.
No, I was just going to say that.
Most of your hours in a day are spent with your colleagues.
If you're going to be spending all this time, you better find a way to enjoy that. And not only you, but everybody else around you has to be empowered to enjoy that atmosphere.
100%, man. That's why I do think what you do matters, but I think who you do it with and how you do it matter even more.
No question. Love it. Great lesson.
Yeah.
Man, this has been such a great conversation. We're not done yet. I still have a few more things.
That's cool, man.
But there's so many nuggets in here. We're going to have 30-second clips forever. Okay, here we go.
Let's go.
Here we go. If you could do anything else in the world, what would you do?
Anything else in the world?
Anything.
Are we assuming that I have endless money already?
You can play this game however. Yeah. If you could do anything
I'm
else
set for
in the
life
world right now, what would you do?
Well, if money was no object, right? I didn't have to worry about providing for my family anymore. I would full-time volunteer coach high school football. And I would spend every minute that I had possible to with my wife and daughter.
Oh, that's a good answer. You're probably gonna get some good kudos at home when your wife sees that.
Well,
yeah. Did you do that on purpose?
No, I didn't. You asked me a question.
I know how you are.
Now look, that's if I didn't have to worry about making money. If I was already set, man, I would want to experience all the little things with my family, man.
Yeah, I know. It's hard. You get limited time.
Yeah, for sure.
Limited time. Okay. Next random. I already asked you one random question. We talked about the goat.
Now, I'll answer your question in a separate way, though. Yeah. If money was an object, and I still had to work, so I had to provide, I would probably like to be GM or president of football operations for a NFL
team?
Yeah. The business side of professional sports is what I'm.
That's where I think you'd be a great fit. So if there's anybody listening, I don't know, maybe.
Hey. Give me a shout.
Give me a shout. Yeah. Okay, here's another question. I know your background, quarterback, H-back. What would you rather do?
Position?
Win the Super Bowl or win the Masters golf tournament?
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl? You were quick. Why was it the Super Bowl? Like, this is one, I ask this of you because this is one that this kind of keeps me up at night. Like, if I had to make that choice, oh, man, I don't know what I would choose.
Look, and it's not to say that those who have a green jacket aren't in an elite class. They certainly are. But I'm a football guy, man. And to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback, in my opinion, that's more of an elite class than being a green jacket holder.
You know, the other thing about winning a Super Bowl is that you win a Super Bowl as part of a team.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, that's something.
Yep. That's 100%, man.
That's something.
You got a group of guys, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. Group of guys who have literally just put in an unimaginable amount of work.
And whenever you talk to guys who played football or played a team sport, what are they going to remember? What's the best thing? Everybody always says, I'm going to miss the locker room. I'm going to miss being around the guys. I'm going to miss the... Like, it's never like, I'm going to really miss that fourth down where we converted. And it's none of that.
It's the camaraderie.
All about being,
it's the camaraderie. It's the brotherhood. It's suffering together.
Yes.
It's winning together. It's losing together. Stuff. Yeah, you can't beat that, man.
No, not at all. All right, look, as we wrap this up, it's been a fascinating conversation. I've learned so much.
I've enjoyed it, man.
I really appreciate it.
We got to have a round 2 in Salt Lake.
We're doing a round 2, yeah. Right. We're going to get out and play a little golf.
Okay.
You're going to teach me something about that short game.
Yeah, I can try.
I can't figure that out.
All right, we'll put a little money on it.
I always thought I had good hands, but apparently not.
Got to have soft hands, man.
Soft hands.
Come on, you're QB.
I know. It's like I'm too tense. We're going to figure that out. Right. Okay. What do you do? Like, okay, your football career is done, but you're in a great position. You're a leader. Your career's going really well. How do you keep yourself on top of the game? What are things that you do to continue to improve?
I'm a big believer in self-development. All right. And I think if there's one thing that anybody that listens to this can take away, the environment we live in today is vastly different than 20 years ago. Meaning 20 years ago, when you were at a company, a lot of your growth was very dependent on who your leader or manager was and their investment into you. You didn't have, it was a limited access of information. Today, it's unlimited access of information. I spend probably too much time watching YouTube, self-development videos, different entrepreneurial videos. Any social media I have, all it is, my algorithms are completely fixed where it's all leadership, business, self-development.
Isn't that great?
Because I believe what you absorb and what you focus on is what you will be. It's what you will focus on in your day-to-day. And you will try to emulate these things. So I try not to have any kind of garbage. I feel like every minute of life is it's an opportunity for you to get better in some form or fashion. And that sounds very cliche, like, oh, everybody says that, but I call it trash TV. You know, when I walk in the house, if my wife has, some shit like HGTV on, that's cool. She can watch that. But I'm going upstairs because I want to watch what I want to watch because I feel that time is important. Like that's me investing in me. So for me, I have really focused a lot on self-education. Berkeley, our CEO, one thing he constantly tells me, he goes, man, you've self-educated yourself more than anybody that I've ever met. And it's just because I would say I'm just obsessed with knowledge. I think knowledge is truly power.
Absolutely.
And we live in a world today where you don't have to rely on anybody else to teach you these kind of things. You can teach yourself just about anything today. So why not take advantage of that opportunity? I feel like the more that I can absorb and learn in a period of time, all that does is accelerate my growth to get where I'm trying to go, right? Trying to maximize the efficiency. So, but I'm also just interested in it.
Yeah.
Kind of like football. Business has become my competition. It's become my sport.
Yeah.
And so I just compete. But I compete with myself because I expect to do certain things. And that's just how I'm wired, man. So for me, it's like, how do I get better? What can I learn that I don't know today? If I know that there's certain conversations or things that we're dealing with inside the company, how can I be the one to go find a solution and bring back some education to the group so that we can collectively discuss, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I just like to know things, man. I just like to be knowledgeable because I feel like that just makes me more confident, one, but I feel that it allows me to deliver greater value to those around me.
It's like you never stop preparing.
Yeah.
You never stop preparing. I think that might be that might be your thing. Always
sometimes to a fault, but
always be preparing. Because you just want to be ready for
Yes.
whatever circumstance comes up, however you can help, however you can serve others, you want to put yourself in that position.
And, man, I think that's the biggest difference between people who achieve what they want to achieve or don't. Opportunities are present in all shapes and sizes, and they come across people's faces every single day.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being able to recognize those opportunities because you're prepared for them when they arise. If you're not prepared, you don't even see the opportunity. But because you've done the work in advance to prepare yourself, you're able to identify that. So, I look at life like a big game of chess, man.
Yeah.
How can I consistently try to think one step ahead? How do I, position myself to be where I am now, but to already know where my next move is because I've prepared myself and I can see that crack in the door opening and I know where I need to move to get inside.
Yeah. Oh, I think that brings it all together so nicely. Your life of preparation, putting yourself in a position to succeed when an opportunity comes, and going through the work. You have to put in the work
100%.
to allow yourself to see that opportunity.
When you're a backup quarterback, when you're Tom Brady and Drew Bledsoe goes down with a lacerated spleen and broken ribs, and your number gets called.
Are you going to be ready?
Is Tom Brady the Tom Brady we know today, had he not been prepared when he stepped into that game? No, he's not.
There's only one guy who wishes he wasn't as prepared. That's Drew Bledsoe.
Right.
Because he never came back.
That's right. But you never know when that opportunity is going to come.
Absolutely.
And the difference is you're either prepared or you're not, because that opportunity may not come back around.
Absolutely. I love that. We're going to wrap it up on that.
Sounds good, man.
Be prepared.
That's it.
Always do the work. Get yourself ready for every opportunity.
That's it, man.
Jey Yokeley, man, you have been amazing. I know what you should be doing next.
What's that?
You should be an inspirational speaker. We need to put you up on a stage.
Man, maybe. Who knows, man?
Yeah,
maybe that's
you're
the
going to be
calling.
there.
Yeah.
All right,
Well,
man.
I appreciate you having me,
I sure
man.
appreciate
I enjoyed
it.
this, brother.
We're going to do it again.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. We should get out there and throw the ball, too.
Man, I don't know about that.
Thank you for listening to the Know Your Ship podcast presented by eHub. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review.